Jay Johnson speaking with the press yesterday as it is opening season, and he has named his starters going into this 4-game set starting tomorrow at 2 o'clock at LSU for the Tigers as they begin the defense of this national championship coming off last season. Again, we're going to talk to Glenn West coming up here in the second hour, but big news yesterday was that Jay Johnson announced that Thatcher Hurd going to get the start for the season for LSU, and Luke Holman going to throw on Saturday, and then a little TBD after that from Coach Jay Johnson. Any surprise there?
No surprise on this, and we were all talking about it last night with the mic'd up fellows with Mikey Matuk and Jared Mitchell, and we had kind of got the feel or the sense that it was going to be Thatcher, despite you bring in an All-American from Alabama and Luke Holman that a lot of people assumed might be your Friday night guy. That's kind of why you brought him in, to bring in a talent like that. But what Thatcher did at the end of last year, and it kind of like a light bulb moment for Thatcher, where it was, okay, this is the potential that we thought that we were getting. I think Thatcher got kind of painted into a corner early on, especially on the fan base, where they didn't really, it was Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde for a little bit, where you didn't know what you were going to get. The bad was really bad, and there was flashes of like really good. And at the end of the year, you don't win a natty without him. You don't advance the way that you did, where he became pretty much consistent throughout the run in Omaha, where he gave up, I think, 2 runs in the first and then was shut down for 6 straight innings. And then that's the Thatcher that everybody kind of remembers. And he's such an even-keel guy whenever you see him speak or see him kind of his demeanor on the mound, where there's not a whole lot there. You know, there's not a lot of sense of a pitch with emotion or like let things get to him. So I think it's a perfect for a Friday afternoon first pitch that Jay had to talk about again with it comes with LSU. I would say people expect there to be a opening night first pitch, but because of the way the schedule plays out, playing 4 games and then taking some time off and starting the midweek again on Thursday with another 4-game set, I think he wants to kind of, first of all, whether he doesn't want what happened with South Carolina to happen again. So start off on Friday first pitch at 2 o'clock and let that thing rip with Thatcher.
Yeah, man, I think that this makes a lot of sense if you're LSU, and I think the fact that there was a debate, I don't even know if there was a debate.
I think it was just an assumed thing.
It feels like Holman is, on the same plane as a guy like Hurd. I mean, he kind of has the same type of respect going into the year. But for what Hurd accomplished for the program last season, and I know Jay Johnson really, he doesn't even look. I love Jay Johnson's press conferences. Stewie, do we have this? And we're going to start cutting these up for you when he meets with the press and really kind of getting some of these sound bites out to you. But I think we can play the bulk audio because a lot of the questions and answers that were thrown his way early on, knocks out a lot of the curiosity. But moreover, you can find like body language, personality. Like Johnson's in game mode. He's in season mode here. And really, the first line here, Stu, if we can start it from there, back it up a little bit, because his opening question, I don't know who asked it, and it's not really anything on the question asker. I'm sure, it's kind of a lighthearted moment. You're in there. It's a press gaggle. Everybody's just trying to – it's a little awkward. People are kind of wondering, how do you get this thing started? You just toss you got to toss a question out there, and whoever asked the first question is kind of like trying to be lighthearted and a little humorous and like, hey, you going to give us your lineup? And he's like, huh? He's no.
I think they might have had a little problem with the mic.
They did on that first question, the one that you have. But, yeah. So,
but you can just sense like this is just Jay Johnson doesn't play it like that, man. I mean, for his many of talented, and I think when we look back on this time in LSU sports, we're really going to be like, wow, look at the accumulation of coaches that were all together in one time on campus, right? Whether it's Kim Mulkey, Brian Kelly, Jay Johnson, Matt McMahon, Beth Torina, people like Frank Wilson, Bo Davis, people that nationally have a ton of respect in what they do. That Jay Johnson is going to be the alpha amongst a group of dogs. He reminds me so much of Saban, of Nick Saban. And Saban, for me, is kind of the, when I was young and very impressionable in media and just really in life, Saban was the head coach, and we had great access, not to the program, but really to him at that time. I was very close to John Brady and his program, and they shared the same building. It was the LSU admin building, the six-story building right there in Tiger Stadium's A lot, across the street from Mike's Habitat, across from the Tiger store, from the gift store. Saban and LSU football, they own the entire second floor, which is now LSU women's basketball. But that was the football floor, and LSU men's basketball was on floor 3. So a lot of times you would be in the elevator with him, with a lot of the staff. I mean, you would regularly see Jimbo, Will Muschamp, Derek Dooley. I mean, all these guys. Saban was the one that was there, 19 hours a day. And just kind of hearing him and Brady talk in the elevators during short talks, they would talk about like how they handle the media, right? And like how they deal with the media. And Saban at that point, all he would preach about his relationship with the media kind of behind the elevator, because at this point, I'm not in media. I'm just like this student assistant on the basketball team who's, making sure that they got enough balls laid out for pregame shots, pre-practice shots, and making sure Brady's laundry's picked up. But that Saban used the media to talk to his team. Like that was like his relationship at the time. He would always like tell, and when talking about going to a press conference, like, I'm going to speak to my team. Why? Why? Because I know they're watching. For as much as we tell them not to watch, everybody wants to hear what people have to say about them. So I'm going to talk to them through this media session. And it feels like Jay Johnson has this no-nonsense, not uncomfortable, awkward, like Greg Popovich, but just let's get down to business, and I know what I want to say. Scott Rabelais asked him a question yesterday about the Kansas City Chiefs and the difficulty of repeating and the adversity that they face throughout the season. Johnson steps away from the podium and kind of looks at Rabelais and says straight up, like, that is a great question. That's a fantastic question. And Johnson just like goes in to watching the Chiefs play on Christmas Day versus the Raiders, calling his dad, because his dad was a big San Francisco 49ers fan, and telling his old man, you don't have to worry about the Chiefs this season. They had just gotten beat by the Raiders, and Johnson, obviously a big football fan, growing up in a football household. His dad, a legendary coach out there in California, and Johnson was a standout running back growing up. Really kind of paid attention to the Chiefs and how they came together to win the title for the second straight year, and gave good examples and just talked about it. But in the way he approaches the game compared to all the coaches on campus right now, which, like I said, I think we'll look back at this time in LSU sports history and say, wow, what a job the LSU athletic administration did in putting together a collection of talented coaches on the campus at the same time. That Johnson will be the one that really stands out amongst all of the very talented group. I love watching his team play. I love watching him in press conferences, hearing what he has to say. And like I said, I think going forward, we'll make sure and have these things cut up for you to play back on a miniature basis. But we have some bulk audio here, and this is from yesterday's opening press session.
Excuse me?
The mic was kind of funky at the beginning.
Yeah. Hurd will throw Friday, Holman will throw Saturday, and then we'll play it by ear from there. 4 games. There's too much to get through in the first 2 games.
Where's this coming from?
Tiger Beat.
Gage Jump hasn't pitched a whole ton in the scrimmages lately. What is he all right, basically?
We get players ready for the season in different ways sometimes. That's what we're doing, and coming off the history, we're always going to take care of the players, and that's what we're doing right now. He'll be just fine.
Pause right there. All right, so shout out to Tiger Bait, Mike Scarborough, and his crew right there providing us this video that we're taking and watching from yesterday's press conference. And Jay Johnson, you mentioned this is a big story, right? On this,
I don't know if it's a big story, but it's just something that people that have been going to like the scrimmage games and kind of watching the team whenever they're practicing. Gage Jump obviously coming off a Tommy John surgery, was pitching in an inter squad, and they've been dealing with him as if he's coming off an injury, which I think as Jay is alluding to there, because a lot of what we talked about this last night too, and what Jared and Mikey were saying is that whenever you have a guy coming off a surgery like that, that's as talented as Gage Jump is, you kind of handle him with kid gloves until he can get out there. So if there's any sign of discomfort or if it doesn't look right, his velo's down, it could be any of those things because they have the gun. Obviously, They're tracking every pitch. And so if it's something like that were to have happened, I'm not sure. But if that is what the case was, they're going to take him out. And I think he only threw like 2 1/3 in the last scrimmage. So that's somebody that you would expect to have multiple appearances as he's ramping up. But if there is a snag in the process, then it's them kind of being like, okay, let's take a beat back, make sure he's fully healthy before he's ready to go. And I think you'll find out probably in the next 4 days what he's able to do. But with somebody with that much talent, you don't want him to have another injury and be set back for almost 3 years when he could be draft eligible and make a run at Major League Baseball.
100%, especially on this team when you got so many options.
Yeah, and I think that's another reason for we don't absolutely have to have him right now.
Back to Jay Johnson yesterday from Tiger Bait.
I think I don't look at it that way. I look at it as the next game on the schedule. I certainly think we're happy to have him pitching. I think if you look at the improvement at the end of last season, really, whatever you want to call it, mid-May, through the College World Series, he showed pitchability, showed ability to manage the game. And if you're going to pitch on any Friday, and it just happens to be this Friday, the expectations of giving your team a quality start and chance to win. And I think he has the ability and mental disposition to do that, and proved that time and again at the end of last season. And then, the fall, I thought he really, really improved throughout the fall. And obviously, you look at him now, he's physical, strong. Bullpen was great yesterday. Ryan Lovato, the bullpen catcher, don't think he moved one time. And I'm excited to start us off with him. It's very rare, one guy pitches the last game of the season, you win, and pitches the first game. I saw something, I want to say it was Vanderbilt, like for the last 15 years, like their pitcher that led in wins has not returned the next year. So to have a guy like Thatcher, because they're moving on in the draft, obviously, to have a guy that has 8 wins, that type of experience, to be back this year is a great thing for our team.
I think this might be the Rabelais question. Let it play.
What do you want to see out of your first series? What questions in your mind you'd like to see?
Ron.
Not answer, but things you're
You think so, Ron?
interested in.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we treat every game like a playoff game. So the goal is to win each game in front of you and then improve while we're doing that. And part of improving is finding out your best team, what that looks like. And we're not close to that right now, just to be frank. And I don't mean that in a bad way. It's actually in a good way. The emergence of some players from the fall till as we sit today has been remarkable. I mean, there'll be guys that'll run out on the mound or positionally, especially like, whoa, in my head, I didn't have that player in the projections, and So we have a lot of work to do to sort that out, and that's a good thing. I just think we have more options maybe than I thought coming out of November.
Great example of what we're talking about, kind of talking to your team through the media.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what I mean? Like, that's a great example.
Yeah, hold on, real quick. And that's what I think. It's not only to your players, but also to the fan base, because I think
Sure.
people get caught up, especially here, in like a kind of a football mentality where you expect to see the same players step up every time. You know who your stars are, and you expect to go in the same lineup that you had on day one that you're going to have on, game 16, because that's what you want in football. Like, you want continuity, you don't want injuries, you want these are your best players, and you know that pretty much after you know who the stars are after spring, after fall. Like, you got your lineup not written so much in pencil, but more in ink. In baseball, everything's written in pencil early on.
Sure.
And you got
Clay.
you got so much talent on this team that they've brought in, whether it be freshmen through the portal. And we were talking about a guy, Stephen Malam, who's a freshman infielder that
They love this kid.
that could absolutely get some run.
They love him, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
and I think that's kind of who he might be alluding to. As I didn't expect him to be this kind of ready coming in, but he played big time baseball. Was the number one infielder in New Mexico, I believe, coming out of high school. 9.5 on the baseball scale. It goes to 10 in perfect game. So he's a guy that's definitely got some wiggle, some juice. Can play the infield, and when you have an outfielder, converted.
He's got that deceiving power too.
Yeah,
right?
he's got like this baseball.
He's small, right?
Yeah, he's not like, but he's built. It looks good on him. But when you have the opportunity to kind of use these first, especially 8 games, but then you have the tournament that you'll play in Houston, where you have all of these non-conference games that don't really mean a lot, but you want to be able to win them. But you can also see kind of everybody. You take it as like an extended spring training where you get looks at everybody that you maybe have questions about or that you think is going to play, but you put them in the game and you don't know. There's a lot of unproven talent on this team where you don't exactly have what you had last year. It's good, but like you said, in a different way where the cream rises to the top. You might not be, you don't know who's going to make your coffee, but if they make it great, then that's who's going to get to play. And you'll see a lot of ins and outs, especially in the middle infield where I think you obviously want to see Broswell perform well. He came in here to start, and everything you've seen out of the scrimmages, his offense has improved tremendously, and he's nails at shortstop. I think that is probably who's going to be penciled in day one, and I don't think you'll really see him move. But it's going to be second base with Pearson, who came in as an infielder, obviously moved to the outfield. He's a Mr. Utility, does it all. Put him anywhere in the lineup, put him anywhere in the field, just a player. And if they need to find room for Malam's bat or somebody struggling in the outfield, I could see that shift as a potential early one on where you get Malam in the lineup. Even if everybody is playing well, you might just see the shakeup just to see what he's got in the game.
More from Coach Jay Johnson yesterday. Compliments of our friends over at Tiger Bait.
What attracted you guys to get him from Alabama?
Yeah, I love Luke. Just as we were preparing to play them last year, we prepare a lot, and watching, the previous few outings and looking at, what he does in terms of flood the strike zone with multiple pitches. He's a great athlete. He fields his position. He's quick to the plate. He's got a low heartbeat and can strike people out, can get weak contact. And it's just such a key part of what we're doing. And he's pitched well the last couple weeks, and he's been what I thought he would be. And he's a phenomenal human being too. It's exactly what you want to have in the program is great talented players, as Luke is, that are great people. And kind of sad we're only gonna have him for 1 year. Because he's a good pitcher and a great person.
Coach, talk about playing the games during the day instead of the evening.
Yeah, I think the weather unpredictability is the first thing. The second thing is we have multiple teams here. And,
all in.
I'm a
great
college baseball fan and pull for coaches, but, LSU is my priority, and I want to make sure we have the best chance to play all 4 of our games. And I thought we had a phenomenal crowd last year on opening day. And I thought we had a phenomenal crowd when we played Southern on Tuesday at 2 o'clock. It was a beautiful day, and I'm just kind of looking around going like, this is sweet, So I'm excited about that. And, it looks like, we're a little bit like this on Friday and Saturday as far as the weather. But I think it just gives us the best chance to play all 4 of our games.
How much do you anticipate getting a lot of different looks as far as your fielders go?
It's one game at a time. and I'm still learning a little bit about our opponents and matchups and those types of things. Everything we do is in the context of winning the game, like I said, but trying to, move ourselves towards our best team. I think there's a lot more possibility of that than I thought, and that's a credit to our players. The improvement of about 5 position players since we returned has been remarkable, and I'm really excited about that. So there may be a little more than I thought, but it'll all be in the context of winning the game. And we got a few things. I'm not going to go into each one of them, but we got a few guys just with small, nagging, nicked up things right now that may play into that.
In the majors, they say nothing's like opening day, right?
Yeah.
How much of that is the same in college? I mean, there's something about that first game.
I think it's special. I think in the context of college baseball, we don't have a spring training, where you're playing anybody else. Fall baseball, you're scrimmaging a lot. The NCAA has limitations on days, hours, what you can and can't do. And then you only get 56 of them guaranteed, 56 games. So that's a third of what a Major League Baseball schedule is. So I think it's special, and, I don't take them for granted, for sure. And there's a lot of work goes into this. This isn't just, hey, when you get the team the first day of school. It's like I'm on a plane flying out here 2.5 years ago and probably trying to talk to somebody that's impacting this year's team. So from my perspective, it's a always evolving deal to put together each team, and so to finally get to the field is pretty cool, and my players are excited, and it's a test kind of more than the excitement. We look at it as a test of mental strength to deal with the things that come along with those excitement and emotions and those types of things.
To that degree, how much do you feel like your team has been able to put aside what last year was and focus on those?
Phenomenal. Like this month has been awesome in terms of that. I mean, these guys doesn't guarantee us one bit of success, but could not have higher marks on how I believe we've improved in the last month and the work that they put in. And if you're doing that, the focus is on the task at hand. And I think we handled that part of it about as good. I'd give us an A+ on that. 100%. I'm super proud of those guys.
That's good to see. All right, shout out to our guys, tigerbait.com on that.
The next one up is the Chiefs cut.
Is it really?
Yeah. He's about to talk about Travinski and Milazzo and carrying over last year to this year, and I think that is a major part of kind of being able to not only, I guess they want to say, like, turn the page, start a new chapter, however you want to do it, but I think that's the best way to reference it as opposed to we're writing a new book. It's kind of like you got some of the old authors there that still, like, put some of this in there, put some of this in there. It's important to have both Travinski and Milazzo back from the Jake Taylors of the room. A little leadership status where you got guys that been there, done that, know what it's like, and they said, they learned a lot from how Skeens and Cruz managed it. Obviously, they have different personalities, but of how they just went about their business day in, day out, and there's really not a lot to change in terms of approach because what we did last year worked, but now it's a different level of it because while they want to be the hunters, target's still on their back.